Hello, everybody. Sorry, I was just remembering that we have obviously Fireflies in here, our AI note taker, and it whether the Zoom is recording or not, Fireflies, if it can hear you, will write everything down. So if while I'm waiting for everybody to come in, if I'm having a little conversation with my colleagues in the office, it's just going to write down everything that I say to my colleagues in the office. So it's like, oh no, mute, because nobody needs to hear that. It's fine. Not that we're rude or anything, but good. Okay, so there's quite a lot to talk about today. One of the things that came up this week, which is going to get expensive, unfortunately, for a club, is union membership. Now, this is not a big thing in the golf industry. I think Unite are trying a lot more effort to get members. But if you know, and I do mean no, you don't have to go and ask, but if you know that somebody is a union member, that is the same as a protected characteristic. That is the same as knowing that they suffer from anxiety or depression or that they're pregnant, even if they're not showing. It's exactly the same level of problem that it would be. So to dismiss somebody, even if they're under 2 years, and to not declare to your HR advisors that they have union membership is a problem, because that is considered automatic unfair dismissal, just like it would be if they were pregnant. And you then have to justify and evidence why you dismissed them and that it has nothing to do with being in the union. And if they've told you about being in the union, and in the case we had, they've been talking by text message, the general manager and the head greenkeeper, and the head greenkeeper sort of almost out of nowhere said, oh, and by the way, I've joined a union just in case. Then a few weeks later, the decision was made to terminate him because there were conflicts, personality conflicts. So there's not real levels of evidence here, although obviously now we have to go and try and find them. And then the first thing we know is a problem is when he submits. So we didn't know about the text messages. Then the ACAS claim comes in. It's like, because it's union membership, and we're like, did you know about this? Oh yes, but it wasn't the reason we fired them. No, that's not enough to defend yourself. You have to have evidence. You're going to have to go and do witness statements about the problems you've had. We're going to have to go through and but all we're doing now is mitigating the amount the client is paying. There is no way to dismiss this because we didn't know about this in advance. If we'd known about it, so we always ask about protected characteristics. We are going to, from now on, we're going to say, and are they a union member? And if you don't know, that's fine. But if you do know, you really should tell us. But it's one of these things where the client was somebody who's been working with us for quite a while. You would expect them to say, oh, and they said this, is that important? But they didn't. And it's because they wanted to get rid of them. And it's like, yes, I understand that. But now you've got a potential automatic unfair dismissal. So the cap on that is 1 year's pay. Okay. So anything under 1 year's pay, you've got away with it. But you're probably going to, I don't think they're going to have to settle for the 28,000 the guy's asking for. But we're talking 5 to 10,000 easily that they're going to have to pay to make this go away. Nadia?
Yeah. And it's a surprising one. Well, it's not surprising for us. We know how the law works. But it's a surprising one to come across because we don't really see a lot of people with union who are unionized. Is that the word? In a union. What I do want to also clarify here is when it comes to unions, it's worse than pregnancy. Don't touch it. Don't ask about it. Just don't. Wait for the employee to come to you. Okay? Don't ask a candidate if they are in a union. Don't ask an employee if they're in a union, if they've joined a union. Just don't ask, okay? Because even just asking those questions is going to get you in trouble. And union rights are only going to increase for the employees over the next couple of years. So it's like if you think an employee is pregnant, and you say, can I ask her? And I say, absolutely not. The same applies here. Don't touch it. Wait till they come to you. And if they tell you or inform you or drop in a text message conversation that they happen to be in a union, just ignore it, but record it in your mind. And then let your HR people know if you have to deal with that person in the future. We do genuinely think that this client just probably genuinely did not think it was important, but it is, and it's very important, and it's going to cost them quite a lot of money to deal with. And on that note, we would always, you rather give us a bunch of irrelevant information in case it's relevant, and we go, nah, not relevant, nah, not relevant, then leave out information because you just kind of want the answer and you want it quickly and you want it clearly. Because those are the kind of things that catch you out, the things that you didn't think was relevant. Yeah.
Exactly. That's the thing. So it's just say more. I don't know whether it's relevant, but blah, 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 and then we'll decide. That's fine. Okay. The other thing that came up today, which I don't think we talked about, and I was telling Nadia about it, and I'm like, okay, maybe we do need to talk about this, is it's trivial benefit. Okay, that is an official term from HMRC, and it's about trivial, so small level benefits for your staff that HMRC doesn't care about the tax on. So a trivial benefit is something like a voucher up to the value of £50 per person. Okay, you can give up to £300 worth of vouchers per person per year, whatever your year is, usually your company year, without it being a taxable benefit. Okay, it's not supposed to be for performance or they're being at work, because that would then be a taxable thing because it's like a bonus. So it's always because of another reason. I'm going to say HMRC doesn't really police these. As long as it's £50 per person, they really don't care. Above that, you're going to have your bookkeeper/accountant going, okay, well, there's tax due on this. But £50 per person you can do. And you just say, thank you for March. Thank you for March. That's great. Or Happy Easter. And there you go. That's fine. But you also need to make sure that it's not allowed to be a voucher just for food or drink. So you're not allowed to give them Waitrose vouchers, okay? But you can give them John Lewis vouchers that could be used at Waitrose, okay? Or you can make it more general than that. But it's, I tend to like Amazon gift vouchers, but there are different ones. That's just what I spend money on. So that's a way of rewarding staff as well, without there being any taxable benefit, and people quite like having, basically it's tax-free money. So you've got a voucher, you go and spend it. It might be worth talking to them about what type of voucher would be the most value to them, but it is a nice way to give them a little bit more without the taxman getting any of it. Okay. Nadia.
Other examples of trivial benefits as well that you probably already do, but giving someone a bottle of wine or sending someone a bouquet of flowers on their birthday or when they're ill, or giving a small gift voucher to, I don't know, to an event or something like that. Those kind of things are also considered trivial, as long as they fall under that sort of £50 mark. But what I want to talk to you about today is SSP and potential changes to SSP. Now, these changes are proposed and expected at the moment for 2026, but some insider information tells us that the law and the act is ready to go. So even though it is still says it's expected for 2026, it could be as early as October 2025. So it sounds complicated. I'm going to make it as simple as possible. We'll start with the easy one. The first bit is a proposal to remove the 3-day waiting period and to make so SSP people will be it's a day one right from the start and right from the first day of the sickness absence as well. So that might impact quite heavily on you guys in terms of the amount of sickness absences you're not paying for at the moment. Or that you are paying, in a week's sickness absence, you're actually paying for 3 days for that first week, when now you'd actually be paying for all of it. So that's one of the changes. That's the simple one. The second one is that the lower earnings limit is proposed to be removed. So at the moment, an employee needs to earn 1, 2, 3. It's easy for us to remember. That's how we remember it. £123 a week for our average earnings when you calculate it, in order to qualify to get SSP. Now, they will then get SSP payment of £118.75 as of next week. That will be the rate that they would get a week.
Sorry, can I just interrupt? So that the 1, 2, 3 needs to average over 8 weeks. That's why, if they've just started with you, they wouldn't qualify for SSP in the first 8 weeks. So again, it's also currently not a day one right, because you haven't got that average of 8 weeks.
Yes. Yeah, there we go. Thanks for pointing that out. So the change will be that will be completely removed, the lower earnings limit, which means that all employees will be entitled to SSP as a day one right, and also from the first day of their sickness absence. Now, here comes the slightly complicated bit. The amount that they will be entitled to will be calculated on their average earnings. And they will get, whichever is the lower of these two things, 80% of their average weekly earnings, or 118.75. So what the situation is at the moment is, if you have an employee who don't meet the 1, 2, 3 rule, and they're not making enough money, they would just not get paid SSP by you, and they'd have to kind of apply for it and stuff on their own. Now they will be entitled to 80% of their earnings, their average earnings. So if they're only making, I don't know, 50 quid or whatever, they'll still get something. They'll still be entitled to something. So easiest way to remember is it's 80% or the going SSP rate in whichever year you're in. At the moment, if it happened now, it would be 118.75. It's the lower of those two. For every employee that is absent, that's going to be the rule. As soon as we know more, we will let you know, as is the case with all the changes that is proposed for 2025, 2026 and thereafter. And also they seem to change on a daily basis. But this one we will really keep an eye on for you, because we know that it's important that you know as soon as possible when this is going to come in, because it's going to hit your pockets. It's definitely going to touch our clients' bank accounts. Any questions? I hope I can answer them.
Mel, did you have a question?
I have a union question.
Yeah.
So you're saying about people being part of a trade union. In our industry, because you have to be CSP registered, so Chartered Society of Physio, that is known as a professional, educational and trade union body. Does that count?
No, it would. I don't think it is a trade union.
No, it's not.
Well, that's because I had thoughts that it was, and I looked it up just as you were speaking, and my result of Google was the CSP acts as a professional, educational trade union body for physiotherapists?
Act. I think the key thing is acts as a professional trade union body rather than is a trade union.
Right. Same thing doesn't apply then?
No.
I'll have a check, but I don't think so. Guys, in the golf clubs, this is a similar sort of situation you have with bigger, by the way. So I will have a look for you guys into this, and I will let you know if they are trade unions. If you don't hear from me, they're not, because as far as we know, they are not.
No, it's usually because there are fewer trade unions now anyway, and they seem to have amalgamated quite a lot. It's usually, what are the trade unions active in the UK? It's probably a very finite list that would be count. So that's fine. In the golfing industry, bigger is not a union. It's a training organisation. It's trying to represent the interests of the greenkeepers, but it is not a trade union. So when they say, I want my union rep with me, it's like, well, bigger is not a union rep. You do not have the right to bring a bigger representative. You can make a decision whether you want to allow that, but it's not a union rep. The same with the GCMA, but I think everybody understands that anyway. And the same with the PGA. These are not union organisations at all. So that's a lot easier. And I was going to say something about SSP. So the other thing they're going to need to clarify, if we're paying 80% of the weekly earnings, is whether we're going to still stay with the first 7 days of self-certification, or whether, because we're paying them from day one, they need to get a sick note from day one, which the GPs will be delighted with. They will love that. It's like, please don't send any more sick people to us. So, but I'm interested to see, I know it's a different government now, but back when we had COVID, there was talk for a while of increasing it to 14 days self-certification, and then that dropped by the wayside. And that might be something that they do going forward as well, to make less pressure on the GPs. Who knows? That's one of these details that is going to come out when they publish it. Like again, it's very similar to furlough. It's like, okay, you've said that, but how does it apply in this case? And they're like, oh, I hadn't thought about that. And then they go in and then it changes. Yeah, exactly.
It changes.
Yeah, exactly.
I have a link for you guys. Caroline, could you give me the right to post to everyone? This is a link on the TUC website, that actually has a list of all 48 registered, recognised trade unions in the UK right now. So if you are interested in that.
45.
Wow.
Okay. More than I was expecting. Okay. Well, no, that's just
48. 48 trade unions. Was it the CSP that you were asking about? It's on there.
See, we were wrong. This is why we're going to check.
We're wrong with you, and we're going to go double check bigger, just in case we're wrong on that.
No, bigger is definitely not a trade union.
We know we're not.
So if the CSP's on there, and I've got rid of people without this year's wages and all the other things that you've been talking about, how does that work? I mean,
what do you mean without this year? Because you had evidence. The thing is that in the situation we're talking about, it wasn't. There wasn't any evidence. It wasn't. It was just a personality clash. That's why the guy was, quite senior. He was on like 50,000-60,000 a year. So the more you pay people, the more they're going to fight for that money. So you went to people and said, I'm terminating you because of this, this, and this. And like, okay, fine. It's also going to be life experience. The guy that we're talking about had already signed up because he thought there was going to be a problem and he wanted the protection. I don't think he didn't sign up to get the union protection. He signed up to get a union person for advice. That's what he did. But then he found out, oh, I can actually sue you because it's probably because I was got rid of because of the union membership.
Yeah, there's another way to look at it, Mal. If all of your people are union members because they have to be, then you're not discriminating in any way, are you? And And that might be the case for others. So it's really is we just need to know so we can consider it in our advice. Because if you have 10 employees in the union and they work for you for 10 years or whatever, or 2 years, and you're letting someone go, it might just not impact but in this case, the person told him in a text message that he got registered with the union because he thought there might be trouble. A couple of weeks later, he was sacked. He went, I was sacked because I'm in a union. So number one, they have no good reason to fall back on. And number two, it's so close, it looks like that happened. Whereas if they knew he was in a union and he'd been there 18 months and it was just not a thing, then it might not be such a big thing.
Yeah.
So we just need to know so we can consider it in our advice, basically. I hope that helps and it's not confused things more.
Okay, good. If there's not any other questions, I don't know whether Steve's got anything you want to ask us.
I've got not with what you discussed. These are something separate. Do you want me to ask
sure.
now?
Yeah.
One's a little bit left field, so I'll leave that for a sec. Regards personnel files of people who left. How long should I keep them before I shred them?
6 months.
Okay.
Because you need to know that there's no tribunal coming.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right. Cool.
And I would keep a record of when they worked for you,
yes,
and in what role. But you don't need any more details after that 6 months.
All right. That's cool. The other one's a bit strange. So I was having a discussion with a colleague from another business, and we were talking because we're going to be advertising soon for a job.
Yeah.
And I said, what happens if we advertise, we get, say, 12 people apply, none of them are suitable?
Yeah.
I said, we just have to re-advertise another time, whatever. He said, no, you've got to interview someone. And I said, rubbish.
No. Well, no.
I know. That's fine. You just won me a couple of pints.
But it's then, it's only going to be a problem, okay? And it wouldn't normally be a problem because you're not legally required to interview anybody. If you look at the CVs and they're not suitable, that's up to you who you invite.
Okay.
If, however, somebody comes to you who's applied and says, you didn't interview me because of my race or the fact that I'm female or whatever it is, you would need to have, and this is why I would say if you've got applications, have just a short checklist. Do they meet the following criteria? And evaluate each CV against that. Yeah. And then you can go, well, no, because these are our 3-5 criteria and you didn't meet any of them. So
no, that's fine. That's great.
Yeah.
Let's say nice couple of pints.
Enjoy your beer. Melanie, you had another question.
Okay, so I've got somebody 0 hours who's pretty much come to the end of their maternity. I don't really have the work and they wanted 35 hours minimum because of childcare. Do I just let them sit there on 0 hours, or do I say, actually, we don't have that amount that you need and therefore we should terminate, or what? I mean, how do I bring it to a conclusion?
I'm going to give that one to Nadia.
I knew you were. Your face told me you were. Right. It's because I like these kind of things. Unfortunately, Mel, this person, even though they're on a 0 hour contract, they are entitled to come back to their job as it was when they went on maternity. So if they were working 35 hours before they went on maternity, even though they're on a 0 hour contract, if they were regularly working 35 hours, then you will need to give them those hours because they are entitled to that. Whereas if they were working in a proper 0 hour situation where maybe they were working 5 hours this week and then 10 hours and then nothing and then 10 and then 5, then you're all right to give them a similar amount. And you could look at what their average hours were, maybe over a 12-week period or a 52-week period before they went on maternity, if you want a really nice sort of accurate number, and sort of try to stick to that average. But basically, you have to use them in the same way that you used them before they went on maternity.
Right.
changes your business has gone through while they were off shouldn't impact them.
Right. So if they didn't have 35 hours before. So if I say, well, actually, you only had, I don't know, 8 hours before, that's what I'm offering you. And then they say it's not worth my while. Where do we go then?
They resign.
So do I invite them to resign?
No. We never invite people to resign. Do we invite them to resign?
No, you never, ever, for any reason, ever invite any employee to resign. That's illegal.
So I say you can have 8. She says that's not enough. And then if she doesn't resign, she just sits on my payroll.
No. So what you would say, there would be a little bit more of a conversation about it. You would say, look, this is what I can offer. This is what you were on before. My needs haven't changed. I don't have 35 hours to give you. I can give you 8 hours. That's what I can give you. Would you like to work those 8 hours? Would you like me to schedule you for those 8 hours? So, it's more than just, I have 8. Do you want it? You kind of have to work at it a little bit more in terms of, I have 8 hours. I can continue to give you 8 hours as before. Would you like me to schedule you for those 8 hours? Do you need any adjustments in terms of when you can work and that kind of thing? And the idea is that they have to come to you and say, actually, 8 hours isn't worth my while. I found another job. I'm going to have to leave.
Right.
Or if you schedule them for those 8 hours and then they are constantly declining those hours or cancelling or not turning up, come back to us, because that's kind of becomes a different conversation.
Because I have this awful feeling that I'll offer 8, she'll say it's not enough, and then go home and nothing else will be said, and she'll be sat on my payroll.
Yes, but she doesn't cost anything because she's 0 hours.
Won't she be accruing stuff?
Well,
no, but
continue a service, but not holiday.
But you'll still be asked. You don't just leave it. Right? You don't just leave it there.
You ask her every week, here's 8, do you want it? Here's 8. She refuses until she eventually refuses and says, stop asking me or I'll resign or...
Pretty much.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
It sounds like it...
Sorry. What you'll probably do is take your 8 hours, get another job for the rest, or take your 8 hours while she looks for a job. And then when she gets that job, resign from your 8 hours. That's probably what she'll do. One of those two things.
Thank you.
I think it's going to be quicker than you think. I don't think it's going to drag on because she's already indicated she wants 35 hours. She's probably going to say, I'll stuff this for a lark, I'm out of here. So, but obviously let us know. Yeah. Good. Okay. Well, lots of things today. Lots of things to talk about. Have a good weekend. Have a good week. And we'll see you all here next week. Okay. Bye.
Thanks for watching. If you want a free tribunal audit of your employment contract and handbook, click the link in the description below.